What is going on out there in NFL land, fantasy football? This is Fantasy Blitz coming at you guys live with our Week 3 recap and our look ahead at Week 4. Joining me this week is Jerry Moore from Rocky Mountain Sports Report. Jerry, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good there, King Cole. How are you, man?
I am doing fantastic, man. This Week 3, each week we have something to talk about when it comes to fantasy football and everything that's going on. I mean, Thursday night football, man, you look at that, and Christian McCaffrey goes down early with a hamstring injury, and it's already looking, from what I've heard, he's already going to be out like 3 to 4 weeks with this hamstring injury. So all of a sudden, we haven't even gotten to the larger slate of games on Sunday, and fantasy managers are already kicking themselves going, great. Now I have to find another running back to replace what was ultimately the first overall pick in majority of standard drafts. So, and as we all know, running backs, because a lot of people like playing this PPR fantasy football, running backs are in short supply.
Always. always. A big part of that is because of these coaches using 2 and 3 running backs a game.
Yeah. It's hard to find fantasy relevance from a running back position. You look at, the Kyle Shanahans of the NFL who use a running back by committee. They run 2 or 3 different running backs. Belichick's done it for years. Most teams, Kareem Hunt out hustled Nick Chubb in Cleveland this year. Yeah. This week it was the Javonte Williams show here in Denver, over Melvin Gordon, whereas Melvin Gordon was the star last week and in week 1 as well. So it's hard to find these replacement players. I mean, but looking forward into the Sunday games, I mean, Tom Brady, even though he lost, he's still a fantasy stud. And I know a lot of people, even at the age of 44, didn't really think Brady was going to do anything fantasy-wise, but he's starting to look like he's a weekly starter.
Yeah, he's got weapons like he didn't ever have in New England, So it's going to be really hard for him not to throw 300-yard games, where he used to be able to win games with under 200 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he relied heavily on those running backs when he was up in New England. So, they took a lot of heat off of him. But, I mean, he can still whip that ball in there. And, they've talked about his release time. Everything else looks fantastic. So, he's continuing to do that up there. The Bills, I mean, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills for a second, man. They went off in week 3, and I think that week 1, was it week 1 they didn't do so well, but yeah. I mean they took it to the Washington football team, and Washington football team was supposed to be one of those defenses and special teams that really was going to stand out this year. That's Ron Rivera, defensive minded guy, and the Bills kind of laughed at him and said, "Go ahead, try and stop us."
Yeah, well. And I keep questioning. I'm a big Ron Rivera fan, and my wife's from the D.C. area, so Washington football team is one of our teams around here. But, I question when you're going to rely on Ryan Fitzpatrick to bring the Fitz magic to town. And that's a tall order. He's been a solid quarterback, but he's not, to me, a guy that's going to really carry a team. And then to go down right away like he did. They're going to try and carry him with Heineke. I just think that's a mountain to climb.
A big mountain to climb. And, Heineke hasn't looked terrible in relief of Fitzpatrick. He's still using the weapons that he has, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson out of the backfield, although Gibson has been struggling to get through some of those lines, but it's not as bad as it could be. You could be Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers are just, I don't know what to say, man. I didn't feel comfortable with Roethlisberger going into this season. He struggled at the end of last season after the Steelers went 11-0, and people were like, "No, we're going to be back. We're going to be back to that 11-0, blah blah blah. We're going to compete for the AFC North," and that's looking like a lot of farce right now.
No, absolutely. It's really hard for these guys to let go. And Ben Roethlisberger, he's played a lot of really tough football. Being a big guy like he is, a lot like Cam Newton, he's taken a lot of unnecessary punishment. And in our pigskin pick'em, I think Pittsburgh's going to come out and they'll have a good season up until about week 5. Well, I was wrong. They carried 2 through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, 1 and 2 through the first 3 weeks. Which brings me to the other side of that game. They lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, and for me, the Bengals have looked hungry from week 1. They won a tough game in overtime in week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. They won this week against a Pittsburgh Steelers team that was like, all right, they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back. That's all we've heard is Pittsburgh's going to bounce back. When are we going to see it? But for me, this Bengals team looks to kind of have that momentum going. Joe Burrow's back. Looks like they drafted an offensive lineman. They brought Jamar Chase in, a fellow LSU Tiger for Burrow to throw to. And Jamar Chase has yet to miss in these first 3 weeks. And he is that deep ball threat. And he's proved time and time again that him and Burrow have a connection.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. The chemistry is there, and it's plainly evident. And that team should be fairly well stacked. They've had the opportunity to draft a lot of good players over the last half a dozen years.
Yeah, thank you, Andy Dalton. Go somewhere else now. We don't need you.
Right. So
it's insane to see. And then the big thing heading into week 3 is Chicago finally got their request, and Justin Fields, and he gets sacked 9 times in that game. Who were they playing this past week? Chicago was. Oh, I got it here somewhere. Yeah, at Cleveland. Huge wake up call for the Chicago Bears right there. Doesn't matter if Andy Dalton's in at quarterback or if it's Justin Fields right now. That offensive line is not stopping much of anything right now.
No, and I think what Bears fans are really seeing is the revelation that Matt Nagy doesn't know what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. And,
no, not one.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky could be there, and it'd be the same result.
Right now Trubisky's sitting in a quarterback room up in Buffalo with his feet up, just eating a bag of potato chips. Like I told you guys, just munching away on his chips. Like I'm just going to sit here and potentially make my way to a Super Bowl with the Buffalo Bills and probably never have to touch the field.
And the Buffalo Bills just look smarter and smarter.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean. I will say this. Sorry to all the Stephon Diggs fans of the world. It was the Emmanuel Sanders show this weekend. But that's what happens when you double team Stephon Diggs the entire game. Right. Josh Allen's like, all right, cool, fine. You guys want to touch him? I've got Emmanuel Sanders. I got Cole Beasley I can throw to, and both of them were fantasy relevant as I have. They both made the week 3 receiver studs list, both scoring above 20 points in across standard fantasy leagues this year or this week, I should say.
Yeah. I happen to have gotten myself into a league where they just allowed a trade of Emmanuel Sanders for a defensive back.
And for a defensive back? What?
Yeah.
So who's the defensive back? I don't go that deep with my fantasy leagues. I might jump into one next year where we pick, individual defensive players, but that's way above my head right now. I can't wrap my head around individual defensive players outside. I can name like a star from every team defensively, but most people take those and you're like, well, okay. Sorry for those of you who took Bradley Chubb. He's going to miss a few weeks. Yeah. Sorry those of you who took Peters from Baltimore early in your drafts and has an ACL injury and he's done for the year in Baltimore. I can't imagine.
It's usually not too big a deal. It's not too big a deal.
Across our ticker, across the bottom, we have our Week 3 QB stubs going on right now. And, of course, like I said, the Buffalo Bills trounced the Washington football team. So, of course, Josh Allen is up there with 37.2 points, 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 rush. 5 touchdowns total. And no interceptions. That's the big thing right there. No interceptions. Who else didn't throw an interception? Justin Herbert, who had 30.8 points, 281 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Matt Stafford continues to shine in the LA sunshine while, Jared Goff sits up there at, in Detroit looking around like, there's a reason why this place looks like trash.
It's a shame. I want a quick shout out to Kenny Kirkpatrick. He jumped on here from the K&K show.
Thanks, Kenny, for tuning in, man.
Yeah. Hey, I missed out on all the drafts this year, and a good buddy of mine who I've been in some fantasy leagues with before, he had a team that he said, hey, I need an owner, but, they missed the draft, so not a good team at all. And I jumped in there, and right away I cut Carson Wentz for Jared Goff, and I'm scratching my head what I was thinking.
Oh, Jesus. Hey, Goff had a better performance than what Carson Wentz has.
He did.
With Indianapolis. I mean, I was watching that show, and, they've got both ankles on Carson Wentz, taped, bubble wrapped, whatever else you could possibly do. And, Indy still struggled this week as they, lost to Tennessee 25-16. The receiving leader in that game. This was a game dominated by rushing. Was Michael Pittman Jr. for the Colts at 68 yards. That's your receiving leader for that game. I'm scratching my head. Ryan Tannehill's getting back to form, but he's got Derrick Henry to rely on in his backfield. And he's got much better weapons than what I would say Carson Wentz does in Indianapolis. Indianapolis relies on their defense to win them most games, and they're not I don't even think they're a top 10 defense at this point. So hard pressed.
I think that's a team that's really underperforming. I have really watched Frank Reich closely as a head coach, and I believe Indianapolis will come to play as the season goes on. The problem is it'll probably just be too late again.
Yeah. By the time they figure things out and they go, oh, we're playing football? Okay, I got it. I know what we're doing now. Let's go.
Yeah, hopefully
it's going to be a little
Carson.
bit too late.
Yeah.
So let's jump into these week 3 running back studs. I'll throw that across. All these running backs had above 20 points this past week. Oddly enough, Elliott came out with Dallas and was like, hey, look, guys, I know Tony Pollard's here, but I'm the one you're paying.
I'm Zeke,
man. I want to eat. And
yep.
he ate. He ate pretty well, this week for the last night, Dallas against Philadelphia, 41-21 Dallas in that game. It was not close from the word go in that game. And everybody on Dallas came out to perform. Offense, defense, everybody. And I'm sitting there, I'm scratching my head. I'm pretty sure you caught some of the game last night, Jerry.
Yeah, I got through the first half. I haven't watched the second half.
Dallas's second series, they're backed up into their own end zone, and they run this this option route for their receivers, and Dak Prescott's forced to hold on to the ball, and he's like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. And he goes to throw it, and it comes down to a fumble and a recovery by Philadelphia, and that was Philadelphia's probably biggest play of the night.
Absolutely.
5 minutes into the game.
Well, C.D. Lamb was the guy that I think was the target there, and he was running the in route and he slipped.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. And, unfortunate situation, but I'm just like, I question the play call.
They did it twice.
Yeah, they did it twice
again in the second quarter.
Yeah, I questioned the play call when you're backed up that against your own end zone right there, especially when you got Zeke right there.
Right.
I'm like,
some breathing room.
I'm like, just get yourself some breathing room, guys. But of course, I think was it the same game? No, it was a game early on Sunday. Somebody did a screen pass in their own end zone and got tackled for a safety. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
That
Come
was
on,
Miami.
people. Oh, yeah, Miami. There you go. That answers a lot of questions on that one right there. No offense to Miami.
I think Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett even jumped on the bandwagon and said, I don't know what we're doing here.
I don't know. That's what they called in the man. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody ever looks at you and goes, okay, you might want to rethink what you're about to do.
Yeah. And, another potential, I don't know if maybe he's a waiver wire ad this week, but Schwartz, a good tight end for Dallas. Little crosser there with
Schultz had a great day in Dallas, and I was just amazed at it. Seeing him come out. Zach Ertz had a great game for Philadelphia as well. After spent 5 days on the COVID list, blah blah blah, but he was back and out targeted Goddard in this game, Monday night game as well. Couple of key things I want to hit up on the running back studs that we have here is yes, Najee Harris finally got on the board. All his points came as a receiver out of the backfield because good God, can Pittsburgh's offensive line not block at all? Hence the reason why Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson didn't play this week, but receivers are having a hard time. Juju Smith-Schuster is one of my big busts on the season so far, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But Harris led all running backs in points, but he had 14, a ton of receptions.
Yeah, 19 passes thrown his way,
and I think he got 14 of them.
Yeah,
so there's 14 in PPR leagues. That's 14 points right there. Not to mention the 102 yards that he had on top of it. Kareem Hunt outran Nick Chubb this week, so a lot of Chubb owners, myself included, are like, what the hell's going on? Robinson and Jacksonville had a great game. Swift had another great game. I keep kicking myself for not picking up DeAndre Swift in some of my leagues. I'm like, I sat him there and I was like, he's going to be that sneaky pick. I don't know what I want to do with him, but volume, but not the volume. Are any of these running backs a buy low candidate? Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey, now that he is hurt. Barkley, right off the bat, I'm like, Barkley has a favorable matchup in week 4, I believe, against New Orleans.
They are going to have to get him going, and I still believe in that Giants offensive line. I think the secondary on the defense is what's killing the Giants, much as anything.
Yeah, secondary on defense. Danny Dimes Jones is sitting there. He's like, guys, we're 0-3. Come on. We need to get something going. It also helps that Evan Ingram was back. He only had two receptions, I think, on 3 or 4 targets in this game for the Giants. But I expect that volume to tick up a little bit more now that he's back and healthy. They just wanted to get him in the game and see if he can run the system and contribute in some way. I don't think they really wanted to test him that much, but I expect him to have more targets against the New Orleans Saints. I do believe this is also going to be the Saints' first game back at home as we head into October. Yeah, I think October 3rd is their first game back in their Superdome. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be loud down there. So I am picking the Giants this game in my pick'em. But I may be wrong because it is New Orleans, and who the hell knows what happens in New Orleans? Everybody gets drunk the night before, and things happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
Barber in Las Vegas had a great game, but Josh Jacobs didn't play, and the same thing with Mattinson in Minnesota for the Vikings. Cook didn't play. Both nursing injuries from week 2. If you're looking to pick up a running back, yes, these guys are available in most standardized leagues because people didn't pick. Some people didn't pick them up, but I would be very cautious in picking these guys up because they were plug and plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The starters on those teams were injured. Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook. I fully expect, with an additional week of rest, so you're talking an extra 7 days of rest, knowing that they weren't going to play. I think after week 2, Vegas had already said Josh Jacobs isn't playing in week 3. Same thing with Dalvin Cook. They're like, we're not going to play. we're just going to let them rest, let them heal, blah, blah, blah. They'll be back in week 4. So please be very careful if you're going to go after one of those guys, because you may not get the volume that you're expecting from them heading into week 4. Those of us on the Austin Eckler train were very pleased with Austin Eckler this week. Barkley made the list as a top 3 running back, and Giovanni Bernard.
Wow.
Who the hell saw Giovanni Bernard coming out of Tampa Bay and being like, hey, look, there's a running back that's relevant in Tampa Bay, even if it is only for a week.
Yeah, I want to circle back around to Kenny's question here about Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey. Jonathan Taylor is a guy that I think – I don't know how low you can get him, but I think Jonathan Taylor is a guy you can trust. The Colts have just entered into discussion with Marlon Mack about trading him if they can get any interest. Jonathan Taylor, I believe he's going to be the guy. And, Nyheim Hines, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to continue to steal receptions from a guy like Jonathan Taylor, but Taylor is a guy that had 7 targets on week 1 and 3 targets last week. So he's not out of the picture, and he's a guy that runs the way I like running backs to run, much like Javonte Williams and company. So I think, you're on the right track there, Kenny. I'd be a little careful about Christian McCaffrey just because I don't know how low you can get him. I expect Carolina is going to be in the hunt the way they've played the first 3 weeks. If they can stay relevant without McCaffrey, he'll be a guy that can definitely help you out in weeks to come. But, man, I just don't think you're going to get him very low.
No. If any of those running backs you're going to get for a low offer, a WR2, WR3 type flex in exchange for them, Jonathan Taylor's probably the guy that's going to be that, simply because you don't know what's going to go on with Nyheim Hines. You don't know if Marlon Mack's going to get traded. I mean, there are teams that need a running back. Carolina.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard is, available on I think like 75% of leagues, and most likely anybody who had Christian McCaffrey and lost their round, if they're that first person on the waiver wire, are going to, you should have been up at 3 a.m. this morning, or 5:30 this morning when stats went final and you win-loss record changed and everything else, and submitted your waiver wire claim then.
Yeah,
you wait until 5 p.m. tonight, you're probably going to get screwed, and you're not going to get Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah,
which means you're looking for another running back. Jonathan Taylor is a buy low option. I don't think people are going to demand a high trade for him. Barkley's price tag is on the rise simply because he looked solid this week, and I think he has a favorable matchup with New Orleans this upcoming week. McCaffrey's injury prone issues right now has his stock on kind of sliding. So I expect teams, fantasy owners to wanna trade them off in exchange for something that's a little more reliable, but that's also bait to them to kind of demand a high asking price, kind of like the Houston Texans are asking for Deshaun Watson. We want 6 first-round picks.
Good luck with that.
I tell you what, I'll do a long-term solution with you. You guys lose. Let's see, what's 17 times 5, 35. You guys lose 85 games over the next 5 years, and that'll be your first-round pick, and we'll just take Watson from you.
Yeah, nice.
That's about the only way Houston's going to get what they want for Deshaun Watson, who is still dealing with his off-field issues. Which since the NFL season has started, I haven't really heard anything. So moving on.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you and our listeners in the running back room. Rashad Penny just hit the waiver wire today.
Ooh, Rashad Penny.
I'm a little thin at running back. My best running back is Connor from the Cardinals. And after that, it's David Johnson from Houston.
So you have who? David Johnson of Houston, and you said Chase Edmonds?
James Conner.
James Conner. That's SOB, got 2 touchdowns this week.
He just about saved me.
But here's the thing with James Conner. Was a great running back, and for like 2 years in Pittsburgh, and then the Pittsburgh offensive line just kind of crumbled in front of him, so he didn't become relevant anymore. Screwed me a couple years ago. And then he's in Arizona now with Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is, I think, the running back tandem he's tied with there. And David Johnson, formerly of the Cardinals, is now with Houston. And you
both
said
of them seem to be beat up. And so I'm wondering if I ought to grab Rashad Penny. Yeah.
Rashad Penny is available, you said?
Yeah.
Seattle running back.
He's going to back up Chris Carson. Chris Carson's a guy that he tends to get dinged up as well.
Yeah, Chris Carson is one of my sleeper picks for this upcoming week, actually. In his matchup, Rashad Penny's been hurt the last couple of weeks with a calf injury. That's interesting, especially with the matchup that Seattle has this week, as they're on the road at San Francisco. And that's a tough one, man. I would be cautious with it. I like Connor's upside, especially with them, playing against the Los Angeles Rams. We saw what Giovanni Bernard just did to the Rams with Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is not known for their running backs. It's more their passing attack and everything else. So I like Connor's upside there. As far as David Johnson goes, Houston is.
They gave him the ball 2 times the other night, got 11 yards.
Yeah, Houston at Buffalo. Okay.
He's easily their best workhorse guy, but they're not.
He's their workhorse guy, but they're not. They're Buffalo's going to blow out Houston. Just like they did Washington. It'll probably be worse. We might see Trubisky get in the game. He'll throw an interception, and then Allen's gonna be like, "Now I got to go back out there." So, if you could get Penny, I would probably grab him. What other?
I have 2 other running backs.
Who are your other 2 running backs?
Latavius Murray and McKissick from Washington.
McKissick in Washington. They play Atlanta. So I would probably start McKissick over Johnson or Murray. Murray's coming. Murray and the Baltimore Ravens are coming to Denver. So
yeah,
I would probably go McKissick, even though he's the backup. But he gets more of the reception targets than what Antonio Gibson does. So I would probably go the route with McKissick, and hopefully he has a good week this week. Week 3 receiver studs. Devontae Adams, obviously.
He killed me. Single-handedly, he killed me this week.
Mike Williams got hot in the second half of that Chargers game. Cooper Kupp continues to just dominate in LA. Him and Stafford just have this magical connection that I thought nobody would match that he had with Jared Goff. Stafford's blowing that out of the water. Justin Jefferson came back with Minnesota. Of course, Sanders had the 2 touchdowns with Buffalo. Beasley's also fantasy relevant for Buffalo because Washington sold out on guarding double teaming Diggs the entire game. So Buffalo and Josh Allen were just like, you do you. We got this. Jamar Chase again, 3rd week with a touchdown. He has 4 on the season so far. Kendrick Bourne of New England. I don't know what it is with New England receivers, but can you rely on a New England receiver?
Historically, I haven't been able to rely on one New England player except Jamie Collins in an IDP league.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at him. He's available in my league, and I could use somebody like that if they're going to stick with him. And It's hard to say. With Mac Jones, I think there's a chance they do give him a good, solid look. He's a build like Jerry Jeudy kind of guy, a CeeDee Lamb build, so a guy they can move around. So, yeah, I could see him leaning on him a little bit with that receiving group.
Yeah. And here's another one that I that has actually surprised me quite a bit. Brandon Cooks with the Houston Texans has put together a pretty solid season so far. He's got, let's see, what's on the season so far. He's got 23 receptions for 322 yards, 1 touchdown. He's averaging almost, looks like about 13 points per week with the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are on the road at Buffalo. Do you see him continuing this trend, averaging 13 points? This is across standard leagues.
It's tough to say. It's tough to say because of the quarterback situation down there.
Yeah.
He's a guy, in the last 2 weeks, he's averaged 94% of the snaps. So he's working. And that's a huge amount of work for a receiver. But, yeah, I think he can keep 13 points a game going.
Brandon Cook sits in the ice bath after every game and he's like, how many days do I get off this week, coach? Right. 94% workload. That's an extreme amount for anybody. Matt Staffiero, thanks for checking in with us, man.
There he is.
Doing great. Just talking some more football, man. It's always fun. Somebody for me, week 3 tight end stud, somebody for me that finally became fantasy relevant this season, Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens. Had a great week, but he had a great week 3. As a Broncos fan, I'm hoping he has a terrible week 4. As a fantasy owner, I'm kind of torn.
Yeah.
But, Baltimore at Detroit, I thought this game was going to be bigger than what it was. I thought Baltimore was going to have a much better game, and they absolutely had a rough time. What's the value of Marlon Mack if he's actually traded, coming from Matt? Depends on where he goes.
Absolutely.
Honestly. If he goes to a team where he becomes the running back, like the number 1 running back, I think his value goes up. But if he's just a change of pace back or just a third down back in a system, to get those tough yards on like 3rd and 1, third and short, we'll call it. Oh, if he goes to New England,
nah,
no, Matt. Matt, if he goes to New England, you might as well just roll the dumpster right next to him and toss him into it. New England's offense is not gonna do him any favors. He's your typical big guy running back. He's your bruiser, but if he goes to New England, he goes to New England. But he's gonna be splitting carries with 3 other guys, so I don't see him being that relevant if that's the case.
Marlon Mack's a guy that nearly won me a championship, and he actually may have won me a championship 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah,
when he stayed healthy, and he didn't come back from that knee injury like Kareem Hunt has. And it is definitely dependent on where he goes. New England's just going to continue their running back carousel, so you're not going to get a whole lot of production. You'll never know when you're going to get that production from him. I thought about him maybe going to Carolina, but with the situation down there, that's probably not going to happen. Which kind of got me on the Royce Freeman thing with Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard or Chuba Hubbard?
Chuba. 1B.
I like Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard says it's a new flavor of bubblegum, everybody.
Right. But anyway, I think Royce Freeman could cut into that a little bit. Hubbard's clearly the better back, and Royce Freeman playing for the Broncos, we've watched him kind of chasing ghosts and seeing ghosts. And as much as I wanted him to be good, he just never really transpired. And I do think he'll cut into Hubbard some, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I don't think it'll be a lot. So we'll definitely see what happens there. We're in the back half of our show, and I just want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors. Willow's Seasonings and Blends is a Colorado veteran-owned company that produces amazing rubs and seasonings for all your favorite foods, such as steaks, chicken wings, pork shoulders, corn on the cob, bell peppers, and much, much more. From their feisty lime fajita seasoning, their high elevation salt, pepper, and garlic dry rub, sweet heat barbecue seasoning, and sweet smoke barbecue seasoning, which I've tried of both. Absolutely amazing. I can just sit and eat it all day. These amazing products will bring a game day impact to anything you want to grill or cook. Don't take my word for it. Get your taste buds in on the action today. Check out Willow Seasonings website for retail locations or order online at willowseasonings.com.
Get it.
Absolutely love that stuff. I got to place an order myself. I have yet to do so, but the few times I've tried some of those amazing seasonings and blends, I've absolutely enjoyed it. Let's get onto this real quick because I know this is on everybody's mind. Justin Tucker with the NFL record 66-yard field goal kick to win the game against Detroit, and I have to say, man, watching that was just phenomenal, especially after Matt Prater and the Arizona Cardinals go for a 68-yard field goal kick to end the first half, and Jacksonville runs it back for a 109-yard touchdown kick return. Congratulations to Justin Tucker, first and foremost. Matt Prater is just like, that son of a... He took my record that I shared.
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to look. I can't remember if that Baltimore game, that field goal either helped me over the hump or it killed me. Yeah, it helped me.
yeah, it helped me too. I have Justin Tucker, I think, on 3 of my 4 leagues. And he finished with across ESPN standard leagues, he finished with 17 or 15 points or 15 to 17 points. It's just phenomenal to see. But I mean, man, 66 yards, I can't fathom trying to kick a ball that far. But the way it happened, it hit the crossbar and just kind of went up. Everybody in the entire stadium is just like holds their breath type moment, and then it falls over. So no double doink for Justin Tucker off the crossbar and in. Fantastic to see. Just a quick shout out right there for him.
Scott, the angle I saw from TV land, I thought it landed on the 5-yard line. It almost looked like the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
But I don't even missed it by a long ways.
It was pretty close. Let's hop in. We're hitting about that 40-minute mark right here. Let's hop in and start looking ahead at week 4 and give our takes on some stuff right now. Starting with Thursday night football, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars hitting the road to play the Cincinnati Bengals. And my question for you, Jerry, and the rest of our viewers is, are the Bengals a fantasy relevant team? I'm talking Joe Burrow, Mixon, Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd against this Urban Meyer coached Jacksonville Jaguars team. I'm pretty sure, underneath it all, Urban Meyer's pulling out all his plays and talking to USC like, hey, just let me get through this season. It's terrible, but let me get through this. Yeah. Are the Bengals a fantasy relevant team?
Well, I think most definitely the Bengals are fantasy relevant. As I said at the beginning of the show, they've had some top draft picks for several years now, and you're starting to see it. And I believe the team's starting to believe it. This test against the Jaguars, that's a decent enough defense. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to get things figured out, and we could see this game get a little interesting with some points going up. So, yeah, I think the Bengals are fantasy relevant. Definitely this week, and I expect that they will be helpful going on the rest of the season.
Yeah, Kenny Kirkpatrick from the K&K Sports Show says, yes, he's predicting the offensive shootout between these two teams on Thursday night. And we will definitely keep our eyes on that as we move forward. ESPN Pick'em Pools has 95% of participants in the Pick'em on ESPN app have picked the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game over the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars with only 5%. So I'm leaning that direction too. I picked Cincinnati. Jacksonville. We'll see if Jacksonville can come in and upset that trend or not. Or do they shoot for the 0-17 and try to lock in that number one pick in next year's draft? We'll see. Stay tuned. Obviously, they're not going to take a quarterback or a running back. They got Travis Etienne, who's out for the season with his injury, but he'll be back next year. And again, Clemson, two Clemson people in the backfield. I think that really hurt Trevor Lawrence. Was losing Etienne before the season even started because he had that chemistry already with him. It's just unfortunate to see. So I'm really looking forward to next season's Jacksonville Jaguars already because they could have a new head coach. They could have another top 5 pick. A number of things could happen, but we'll see what happens there. Let's go into our stud bust sleeper picks. We'll go by position. If you have anybody, Jerry, we'll talk about them. I'm going to post mine up here and talk about them a little bit, and then Jerry, I'll give you an opportunity to shoot back at me if you have anybody else you'd like to list as a stud bust or sleeper. I'm going to start with our quarterbacks. And I have 2 at every position except for sleeper for you guys to chew on. Starting with week 4, I have both Josh Allen and Tom Brady being studs this week. Josh Allen's going up, against another defense that is probably going to struggle to keep him in check when they host the Houston Texans. And Tampa Bay is heading up to New England in what is going to be another record-setting day for Tom Brady and company. Tom Brady, I believe, is 68 yards away from breaking the NFL passing yards in a career record. So expect that to happen probably somewhere in the first quarter. Brady get it out of the way and be like, all right, everybody shut up. I got a game to play, and moving forward. These 2 quarterbacks through 3 weeks, 1,894 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That is damn impressive.
That's getting it done.
For a 44-year-old Tom Brady, and who I have locked in as my MVP selection in Josh Allen, although Matt Stafford may challenge that the way he's playing in LA. Not to say the Rams won't have a great game, but my 2 studs for the week are going to be Josh Allen and Tom Brady. As far as busts go, Ben Roethlisberger and Danny Jones. Ben Roethlisberger has struggled. I don't know if it's age, just his body finally giving out on him, or if his elbow isn't holding up as well as he wanted it to. That's a lot of motion on this arm when you're throwing here. That's a ton of motion. And if he's throwing, a little bit out there with a little tweak on this elbow that he's had surgically reconstructed, that's tough. And then he has his offensive line is struggling. Villanueva's not there anymore. Villanueva's in Baltimore, and he's struggled in Baltimore already.
Yeah.
So, and then Jones in New York, I don't necessarily think it's Jones's fault. I think it's more the head coach who needs to go as well there. But they've combined for just over almost 1,600 yards, 1,583, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. But the matchups this week do not favor either one of them. Yes, I did say I have New York winning on the road in New Orleans. I think they'll eke it out like they've lost a couple close games. Pittsburgh's on the road at Green Bay, and it's going to be October when they play. It starts getting kind of cold up there mid-September, so we'll see what happens there. Kenny chimes in. His stud is Stafford. His bust is Tannehill, but Henry gets huge numbers. And his sleeper pick is Trevor Lawrence on Thursday night. I actually like those picks. I think Trevor Lawrence can be a damn good sleeper pick right there. And my sleeper pick is Derek Carr on Monday night against the LA Chargers. 1,203 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This guy is on pace for over 6,000 yards for the season.
Yeah, and he's not doing it with the best receivers in the division either. But
no,
yeah, it's been an impressive season. Waller continues to impress. The 1-year guy, Edwards, Ruggs.
Yeah, Ruggs, Hunter Renfro's been a slot receiver target, kind of what Wes Welker was for Peyton Manning here in Denver. Amendola was for Brady up in New England. I like what I see out of Derek Carr. And for those of you looking for a quarterback, he's available in most leagues.
I got a quick question for you. I see Justin Herbert is questionable right now. Is there any real fear that he's going to be sidelined this week?
I honestly don't think there's any major question that he won't play this week. I think it's more of a precautionary, just a cautionary type tale. He played his heart out this week against Kansas City. I mean, let's talk about this game real quick.
Let's do it.
The Chargers go into Arrowhead Stadium and upset the Chiefs. I mean, Broncos fans, we're celebrating. We're like, yes, this is what we wanted. Yes. Now, if Vegas could just lose, that didn't happen. But I will say, go Chargers this upcoming week as they play the Vegas Raiders. It says here, Herbert had his throwing hand wrapped in ice before he left Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday, but he's expected to be okay, which to me means he probably smacked it on a helmet pretty good, a stinger type situation, was swelling a little bit. X-rays had probably come back negative already before he even left Arrowhead Stadium, and they just, might be a little bruised, a little swollen, so he'll probably get an extra couple days of rest. And thankfully, they're playing Monday night, so I don't see it being a huge issue there. So we'll see what happens there. Real quick, Matt chimes in. Teddy B versus Baltimore, Herbert versus Vegas, or Darnold versus Dallas. How would you rank these starts? 1, if he does play, which I project he is going to play, Justin Herbert against Vegas. This has
shootout
like Kenny Kirkpatrick has for Thursday Night Football. This looks like a shootout, similar to what we saw between Vegas and Baltimore in Week 1, or was that 2? One of those weeks. It all mixes up by now. We're 4 weeks into football. I can't keep weeks straight.
We shouldn't have to, should we?
No, shouldn't have to. It's all football. That's all it is. We're here for it all.
So excited.
2, I have Teddy B. How can you not put Teddy B ranked 2? I put him at 1, but he's not lighting up the scoreboard like Justin Herbert is or Derek Carr is. I rank Teddy B at 2 because he's steady Teddy. Here at Rocky Mountain Sports Report, we've said it for the last 3 weeks. Here's steady Teddy. Most 20-plus yard targets downfield in the NFL. Highest QBR rating in the NFL. I believe that still stands true after 3 weeks. Matt, get back to me, if that is the case.
90.9.
That's pretty impressive in my book.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sam Darnold versus Dallas. If Dallas can get to the offensive line of the Carolina Panthers, I feel they are going to struggle, especially without Christian McCaffrey. We saw what happened last Thursday when McCaffrey was gone. Carolina struggled to get the ball moving. It's going to take them a little bit. So I expect the same thing to happen against Dallas. It's going to take them a while to figure out where they're supposed to go and how they're supposed to do it. So I think Dallas gets off to an early lead, and Carolina's game plan struggles. That's
Matt, I've got Sam Darnold, and I'm not a Sam Darnold fan, but I have him, and I had Jared Goff. And as much as I want to like Darnold this week, I'm just not 100% sold on Carolina, especially a McCaffrey-less Carolina.
Not only that, but you have Stafford and the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago. But Chicago, I think, is relying on Justin Fields, and I think Detroit's defense can get to him.
Yeah, agreed.
I would take Detroit over Carolina this week, and I know that's scary to think about. But if CMC was playing for Carolina, I would take Carolina. But that's not the case.
Yeah, I almost feel like the defense there is good enough to make Dak a potential bust, but I'm not going to just jump on that this week. Maybe.
Okay. So do you have any stud, bust, or sleepers at quarterback?
No, I think we've hit them all. I'm right there with you. Derek Carr to me is the sleeper. I think they'll make a game out of this. I think Herbert and that Chargers team offensively is just a little too stout, and I haven't figured out the two defenses yet to be able to say. So I think Carr can make it a game, which is going to push his value up this week.
Oh, 100%. And it's great to see this. New head coach, new offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, and a lot of people thought Herbert would slide the sophomore year, but so far so good. On the running backs, real quick. As we're getting crunch time with everything else. Studs, I'm going with Kenny Kirkpatrick on this one. Derrick Henry versus the Jets, man. I think Tannehill's not going to be too hot, but I think Henry gets it started back up again against this hapless Jets defense and really busts out there. My bust for this week is Najee Harris. Yes, he had a great week in week 3, but that was because he was catching a lot of balls out of the backfield. He was a fifth receiver on the field. He wasn't running the ball. I think he had like 30 rushing yards this past week because the Pittsburgh's offensive line cannot hold up against pressure, and Green Bay is going to bring the pressure. They're playing at home. Pittsburgh's coming up to visit them. I think this game falls in Green Bay's favor. Najee Harris gets shut down because but I don't see Najee Harris. You shut down Najee Harris out of the backfield and receiving the ball, screen passes, blah, blah, blah. You're going to shut down Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's offensive line is not giving Roethlisberger enough time to step back, examine the field, and move. So Najee Harris is my bust for this reason. Kirkpatrick, Kenny agrees with me. He's a lot of my bust, which I'm happy to say. I think it's going to happen. Najee Harris had a great week, but I don't think he's going to repeat it. And my sleeper pick is Barkley against the New Orleans Saints. And I think because of Barkley, that's why Giants are going to win. I don't think it's Jones. It's not me, it's you, Jones. But I think Barkley's going to be the sleeper pick for the Giants on this one and get them the win. Jerry, any thoughts at the running back area?
I'm just going to give you a quick sleeper this week will be DeAndre Swift. Not 100% sure that's a sleeper, but he's gonna have a field day with the Bears this week, in my opinion.
I mean, I could see him as a sleeper. You think Matt Nagy and the Chicago defense, they're supposed to be stout. They're supposed to be good. They're supposed to shut down running games. I can hear it over the loudspeaker. They're still looking. Khalil Mack, are you present? Khalil Mack, are you present? Where's Khalil Mack? We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there in Chicago, but it's not Bears football, and I feel for all those fans.
It is not Bears football, and I think what happened was Cleveland showed up, knocked on their door, and handed them the brown paper bag and said, "It is now your turn." And, just handed it over to them. And some Chicago fans accepted it and were like, "We are not sure what to do with this." And then, they're seeing what's on the field, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
I get it now."
Yeah. And to jump on with Najee Harris, a huge fan in the draft. I think he's a special player, but the way they're using him there in Pittsburgh,
It's not what he was meant to do.
No, yeah. And they can stack the box and just match up with him with a good linebacker, and that doesn't look like a good situation. If they might be better off to let Mason Rudolph go after this group, but I think Ben is used up.
Dwayne Haskins, please report to the starting room, please.
Right.
They got to do something there. Running off to our tight ends as we're getting close to our window. Week 4 tight end studs. Kelsey is the king of the tight ends. That's not going to change anytime soon. If you can show me a team that can stop Travis Kelsey, I will pay you money. I have yet to see it consistently. I will say. Kelsey might have a week where he only gets 10 points, but then he blows up the next week for 20, 25 points. Kelsey was just incredible. For me, the hype train left the station with Kyle Pitts in the bus room long ago. I think he was way overranked when it came to the fantasy draft. I think he was a 5th ranked tight end in most fantasy drafts as far as overall ability. And truly, like, I've watched some film. I'm not a big college person. That's Matt and Caleb Davis and a few others in our group. But Kyle Pitts is listed at what, like 6'5", 6'4", something like that. And Gridiron Heights. I don't know if anybody else watches Gridiron Heights. I know several people do. I don't know if anybody in our group watches Gridiron Heights on Bleacher Report. If you don't, it's hilarious. Go watch it. It's awesome. They did this thing on the tight ends or whatever, and a bunch of receivers show up and is like, "Come with us, Kyle." And he's like, "I'm a tight end, bro." And they're like, "What?" He has the build, the athletic ability to be a great receiver. Yes, but I don't think he's a tight end. I think if you were to utilize Kyle Pitts as a wide receiver, I think he would be a lot better. But he was drafted as a tight end. I think at some point, some coach or somewhere, is going to be like, "Hey, man, we want to put you out at receiver. We think you got the hops, you got the ability. Let's try you out there." And I think he would do a lot better. But for me, the bust is Kyle Pitts. This week and every week, for the most part, especially against this Washington football team. I agree with Kenny here. Tight end bust is going to be Mark Andrews against the Broncos. Fangio's too smart to allow a tight end to beat you, but he is smart enough to let our tight end beat them. So I'll take that. And my sleeper pick at tight end is Tyler Conklin of the Minnesota Vikings against this Cleveland defensive line pressure. Conklin had a great week this week. I expect that to continue as Kirk Cousins is finally starting to put it together and be a legitimate QB. What? You pay him $68 million and he's finally going to be a QB? That's impressive. You just wasted $150 million to get there, Washington, Minnesota. He's finally going to be a quarterback for you, so take it or leave it. But I think Tyler Conklin is going to be a sleeper pick at the tight end.
I like Darren Waller. My bust is going to be Hawkinson. And I've got 2 sleepers for you, Logan Thomas and Tyler Higbee, even against the linebackers at the Arizona Cardinals.
That is going to be an interesting game right there, Jerry. This is the one game in my pick'em pool. Like, I sit there and I look at the pick'ems and I'm like, pick. I get down to the Arizona and LA Rams game and I'm like, crap. I don't know who to pick. That game could honestly go either way. Kyler Murray is such a versatile quarterback, and stop stealing my touchdowns from my other players, Kyler Murray.
Yep. But, hey, Kenny Kirkpatrick jumped in here with Dan Arnold, just traded to the Jags. Kenny, I'm gonna dispute that and go with Tremble out of Carolina since Dan Arnold left.
There you go.
As your sleeper.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, that's been the issue in Carolina is they're like, hey, let's move the ball, be offensive. Teddy Bridgewater sucks. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have a tight end to throw to when he was there. Christian McCaffrey was out. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be awesome and entertaining. Real quick, let's go through your pick'em, and then we're going to call it a show. I've already told you my Thursday night selection was Cincinnati versus Jacksonville. Who you got in that matchup?
Yeah, Cincinnati for me.
Washington football team on the road at Atlanta. I am taking Washington.
Yeah, Atlanta has just not shown much, and I still have faith in that Washington football team defense. Time to get a win.
Yeah, Atlanta, Matt Ryan is seeing ghosts, as the former versions of Peyton and Eli Manning are calling to him from the retirement farm. So he's trying to hold that up as long as possible. Houston at Buffalo. I got Buffalo on another massive blowout win.
Yeah, the Houston story is over. It got off to a great start week 1, but that's history, ancient history.
Godspeed to you, Davis Mills. We wish you well. Detroit Lions at Chicago. I have Detroit getting their first win of the season.
Me too. I might even have to start Jared Goff.
Yeah, Jared Goff at Detroit with Detroit, because Chicago just looks terrible right now. Carolina 3-0 taking on Dallas at home. I think Dallas hands Carolina their first loss of the season.
Yeah, going to be a great test, but I got to give it to Dallas as well. They looked really good last night. And I don't know how good that Philadelphia team is, but Dak looks sharp. Zeke looks sharp. The receivers look great. So, yeah.
Indianapolis on the road at Miami. This is a game that's kind of a little tough to predict, but I feel Carson Wentz's ankles are going to hold up, and Indianapolis Colts get a win.
Yeah, this is a case where I'm going to go with the home team, Miami, just because the Colts don't look like they're quite there yet, and I think Miami's close enough that they can get this W.
That sounds like yeah. That's why I was like a little iffy right here. Cleveland hits the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Nick Chubb gets back into form, and Baker Mayfield has a game against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Vikes, so I'll take Cleveland with you.
Danny Dimes on the road at New Orleans. This is a battle of mediocre quarterbacks play. I feel like we've said it throughout the show. Saquon Barkley gets his team going, and New York ekes out a win in New Orleans.
That's going to be real interesting being back home there for the Saints. I think it'll be an emotional game. I think that defense is pretty stout, so I'll stay with the home team again, Saints.
All righty, right there. Another big game. Let's see. Tennessee Titans hit the road at New York. New York Jets, that is. They were just shot out 26-0 here in Denver. I think Tennessee takes it to them again.
Zach Wilson's lost.
The ghosts that Sam Darnold left behind are finally are talking to Zach Wilson, and he's had enough of it.
Yeah, and they don't even have anybody that they can turn to let Zach catch up a little bit.
Yeah, Godspeed, Corey Davis. Please help out your quarterback. Kansas City at Philadelphia. Kansas City, after that nasty loss they took from the Chargers, are hungry, and they're going to take it out on Philly.
Yeah, they're going to play real hard for the big man in red. Coach is back, and hopefully he'll be good and healthy on the sideline. Kansas City.
One of the more intriguing games, the 205 game, Arizona at Los Angeles. SoFi Stadium is just rocking every single day, every day of the week. This time hosting 2 games this week as both teams play at home, one Sunday, one Monday. I have the Rams still defending SoFi.
That's a fair assessment. This is going to be my sleeper pick. I'll take the Cardinals.
Interesting. I was torn on that one. I'm still not sure how that one's going to go.
I really like Coach Kingsbury, what he's doing there with Kyler Murray and what Kyler Murray's doing with his coach. And I'm gonna jump on board this gravy train.
Hop on that train while it's going. Seattle Seahawks hit the road. Another division matchup in the NFC West at San Francisco. I think Seattle's going to take this one. San Francisco looks just a tiny bit lost.
Again, another banged-up San Fran team. They fought really hard the other night, and I think they could bounce a little, so I like Seattle as well.
All right, Baltimore comes to town in Denver. Broncos are 3-0 under Teddy Bridgewater as a starter. 1-point minus 1.5 favorites heading into this game. I am taking Denver as Baltimore has looked a little shaky to start this season.
Yeah, I don't think they have enough offensive weapons. Lamar obviously is a great weapon, but I think the Broncos have what it takes to keep him in check. The secondary is just too good. Lamar's not going to be able to carry this team as long as our offense can keep clicking the way they have. So, Broncos.
Alrighty, yeah. Baltimore's window seems to have disappeared just a tiny bit. Let's hope it stays that way. Pittsburgh Steelers hit the road going up to Green Bay. I have Green Bay all the way on this one.
Aaron Rodgers looked super sharp the other night, and Ben Roethlisberger doesn't. So that's an easy game for Green Bay.
Note to the NFL, you cannot give Aaron Rodgers 36 seconds.
No.
Just saying. Tampa Bay. At New England, Tom Brady goes back to his old stomping grounds at Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, 68 yards away from the all-time passing yards per career. Tampa Bay wins this one, and Brady just gives Belichick the stare down.
The student becomes the coach here.
Yep. I 100% agree. And the Monday night matchup on October 4th, this is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. Vegas Raiders at Los Angeles Chargers. SoFi Stadium gets 2 wins this week, with the Chargers beating the Raiders in a close match.
I think so. I think you're right.
It is definitely going to be an interesting week. We will check in and see how those picks go. I always check up on everything else as well. For those of you who have tuned in and joined us, thank you for joining us. Another word of note, Colorado Avalanche are in preseason action tonight against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. If you have a chance to check into that game, do so. Should be a great show. The Avalanche are running a lot of their young talent. Just trying to get people some ice time. 6 preseason games. October 13th is the first official regular season game. So please, we can't wait to bring that to you guys. We were going to do an In the Crease podcast show. We did not on Saturday. We are going to debut on October 9th before the season starts. So please tune in for myself and Gregory Dowden as we bring you guys our In the Crease coverage starting October 9th. And we'll come to you guys every Saturday after that as often as we can. We look forward to that. 4th and 99 will return on Wednesday, I believe. So tune into those guys. And I believe Rocky Mountain Thunder should be back up and running here soon. Tons of content for you guys. Come check us out on the Rocky Mountain Sports Report group page. We'd love to have you guys and spread the news, because the greatest form of advertisement is word of mouth.
Absolutely.
So please, bring your friends, bring your family, whoever else wants to come check us out. They don't know anything about sports. We got you guys covered. For Jerry Murr and myself, Scott Cole, thank you guys for joining us on Fantasy Blitz. Jerry, one more thing, Jerry. What you got?
I did drop 2 Rocky Mountain Thunder pods in the last couple of weeks, and I did wish you a happy birthday last week. I'll wish you again. Happy belated birthday, King
Thank you
Cole.
very much, sir. I appreciate that. For those of you guys who didn't know, my birthday was last Thursday, 34 years old. I was bowling that night, had the best night of bowling of my life.
Awesome.
So I think I averaged like a 185 or something like that night. So it was fantastic. I had a great time.
Nice.
Thank you for the birthday wishes. Jerry Moore does run our Rocky Mountain Thunder podcast. Please check him out. Awesome content right there. And as always, guys, thank you for the comments and questions and participation. We'd love to see more of you guys. And again, for Jerry Murr of Rocky Mountain Sports Report and myself, King Cole, Scott Cole, thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday, 5 p.m. for our next episode of Fantasy Blitz Football. Until then, have a great night, everybody.